Leave meeting.
So recording's going, we are correctly titled, and we are starting the stream.
Okay.
All right. Last time on A Crown of Cold Iron, we wrapped up a period of downtime, or at least hit a period of activity in our downtime. After a long series of investigations and ultimately a shootout with demonic forces in the Hall of Light in Queensboro, you all survived, spent some time following up individual leads, and Lexi has finally gotten around to figuring out why one of her distributors for Luz has quit taking her calls. The very popular Fickle Spirits Brewery has not been making their shipments after several months of very popular new labels. They just quit taking Lexi's calls. You all assumed that something horrible had happened to them and went to investigate, only to find them apparently in full operation. After so many failed wisdom saving throws, finally, with the assistance of some detect magic, Cyrus has discovered that the brewmaster, Conrad Wirtz, seems to be possessed or somehow overshadowed by a giant yellow-brown troll that reeks of alcohol. So in the very tense moment, right when we left off, you had just seen this and successfully managed to sort of steal your face and not give away that you had noticed, but you are now standing directly in front of Conrad. And so to give you this image, Conrad is solid. Like Conrad is seems to be fully physically present, but it's almost like there's a complex three-dimensional shadow like hanging over him, which is the shape of this 10-foot tall yellow-brown troll that is visibly like sweating and leaking alcohol. And actually now you can see it puddling a little onto the floor where it very rapidly evaporates. So we are going to jump right back to this moment. Cyrus, what do you want to do?
So if I remember correctly, one of the other things that Cyrus noticed is that Dan, the delivery guy, is completely unaffected.
Yep. So you were in this room. This is the main like brewery floor. This is where the brewing happens. There's all sorts of equipment. You actually see like two separate large sections of equipment where it looks like they have two distinct processes running. You see some bottling and canning equipment. You see long rows of storage off to the side. There's like workers running around doing various things. And Dan, the delivery guy, your first Queensboro good old boy, who you encountered in the lobby, has been recruited to make a delivery to Luz, but he seems unaware that he is standing in close proximity to a giant troll creature.
So I think Cyrus will turn back to Lexi and go, didn't you say somebody had to leave work early? I think we better follow Dan and make sure Luz is open so that he can get everything stocked in the right place.
Okay. Lexi's not seeing what Cyrus has seen, but she trusts Cyrus enough at this point.
So over in the corner, hanging out with the cats, who you apparently can talk to now as part of your totem barbarian skills. Although the very first animal that you talked to maybe wasn't actually an animal in the technical sense and ran away after a strange exclamation.
Yep, noticed that.
All right. So yeah, are you just going to try and like carefully withdraw?
I think so. I mean, it felt like I might like small talk. The tour is done now.
So Cyrus, how do we want to do this? I'm going to see if we can kind of get you all to meet in the middle. So Lexi and Auric make insight checks, and Cyrus, make another deception check.
Okay.
You are trying to convey this information, and they are trying to notice, all while keeping it separate from the other folks in this room.
Well, that may not have succeeded because Joe rolled a 6 and I rolled a 7.
I got a 22.
Okay.
Oh,
Cyrus is laying it down real thick, and I see it hard. Like,
yeah. So here's how I think this plays
Like,
out.
but we haven't gotten our complimentary drinks yet.
And when you say that, Conrad turns around and is like, "Oh yeah, you've got to try the Majestic Maple Portal." And while he's turned around, Cyrus is like, "All right." So you all start to sort of back away. I'm going to let Lexi and Auric go ahead and make another wisdom saving throw with advantage.
Wisdom save?
Yep. Also, Cyrus, when Conrad talked just then, you didn't hear that. That's not what you heard. You heard like a weird, like high pitch frequency thing going on. And what you actually heard was a deep rumbling voice speaking in Sylvan saying, "No, stay. Must try good porter." And it's like the high voice is translating, but you're not hearing the high voice anymore. You're just hearing that in Sylvan.
Okay.
So what were the wisdom saves?
19.
and 20.
All
I
right.
didn't even roll a second time because I rolled a 20 the first time. I was like, all right, I'm good.
So with Cyrus's prompting, you all are sort of shaken out like, oh yeah, something is weird. And now you see the 10-foot tall troll. What the rest of you also see is around this room, everyone except Dan and the troll, all of the humans running around have that same wavering three-dimensional shadow thing behind them. And each of them seems to be like a 3-foot tall, like wisping humanoid shape. They look like peasants, like medieval peasants. But they have a kind of ethereal quality to them. Like the proportions aren't exactly right. They don't necessarily, like, their feet aren't firmly on the ground. They're almost sort of hovering in space and being sort of brushed about by the wind. And Auric, make we'll call it an Arcana check. Fairy's weird. It's sort of all of it. So all the knowledges.
9.
You know, on a 9, I'll still give this to you because you would know this. These are kobolds, not draconic kobolds. These are fey kobolds. These are like domestic house spirits. They're spirits of work and artisanry and labor.
Do not give.
So you all spot this. And Cyrus, with your detect magic, you do notice one other thing. It was hard to see because there's such a cloud of magic in this room. And now you can kind of see the conjuration and enchantment and necromancy magic that's been happening, that's all sort of layered across this room, is emanating out from each of the people in this room except for you and Dan. You all and Dan. Mingled in with that, you're catching this sort of broad, sweeping sense of illusion. You're also catching really strong. Sorry, I need to do a D&D IRL knowledge check real quick. You're catching very strong evocation magic. A lot of evocation magic and some additional enchantment and transmutation magic coming off of the long racks of alcohol.
Okay.
So you all continue to slink out. Conrad looks very disappointed. Jane, who you can now see, it's like there's a spirit sort of talking behind her, but it's also speaking in Sylvan. And it's speaking in this very small, high voice. No, you have to stay. You have to sample the work. And you can just faintly hear Jane echoing that. Make an insight check, everybody.
19.
Oh, nat 20.
I also got a nat 20 for a 20 total.
Where were all of these rolls last session?
Seriously.
That's right. You blew them on some like random history check. You all got 20s.
I rolled great until we got to. I was rolling on fire until we got to the brewery, and then the rest of the rolls at the brewery were all low.
Just nothing.
Treats.
So Lexi and maybe even Cyrus, you all might not know, or Cyrus, what'd you get on this?
20.
20. Okay. Natural 20 or unnatural?
A natural 20, but I have 0 modifier.
Okay.
So my natural 20.
I have modifier, so it was 23.
Yeah. So Lexi, I think maybe you have heard like maybe Archie or somebody like conjecturing with a buddy of his about whether a spell like this is possible. Cyrus, you've maybe caught little pieces here and there of some of this old lore they're trying to piecemeal apart for actionable info with the NBI. Or if you just know, this is a chameleon charm. A massive chameleon charm has been placed over this entire facility and all of these creatures. It doesn't just translate, but it translates in a way that matches the aesthetic of a place and a person. So comprehend languages might let you speak very literally, but it's not going to know culture very well. It's not going to know, like the little idioms and expressions and the ways of thinking. This charm is on a much higher level, and it's filling in the gaps. So as you think back now, you're remembering Conrad pulling out the clipboard, and now you can hear clearly the voice just says, don't like electric boxes, paper. And then you can hear that, like, now it sounds sort of otherworldly and fake, but you hear that Conrad voice, like, just blurting out all of that about like old-fashioned aesthetic and so you are very carefully making your way out. Dan's just playing on his phone. Like, he has no clue what's happening here. He's just like, yeah, cool. All right.
Is the stuff that he's got packed up still radiating magic?
So they're packing a vehicle that is outside.
Oh, okay.
His delivery truck is like backed up to to the northeast of you, there's a set of double doors that seem to go out into like a garage opening. And you could see after this order was made, stuff started going back there. And it seems to have been pulled from the same supply.
I just wasn't sure if there's like a lingering enchantment on the bottles, or if it's just like as long as they're inside the building, they've got some effect on them, but once they leave, it dissipates.
Make an Arcana check. And actually, I'll say all three of you make an Arcana check, and Lexi, make it with advantage.
With advantage?
Yeah. Oh.
6.
Ah, 6.
With advantage?
Yes, I rolled a 2 the next
Oh
time.
no.
I know, it was right next to the B.
None of you have a clue. You don't know what this stuff is. You don't know what the properties are. It just, and they would, Lexi and Oric, you wouldn't even necessarily know yet that there's anything unusual about it. Yeah, Cyrus, you're trying to figure this out, and it's like, man, I wish I could like ask someone out loud about this. Like, this would be a great thing to like, you know, call Vela or a Blackthorn or somebody,
Yeah,
or Gimbal. Like, hey, tell me everything you know about magic alcohol.
Yeah, I should know about magic alcohol. But apparently it just works when I roll it at 20.
It just
It just works.
I even gave you advantage.
I know.
So you managed to sort of sneak your way back out to the parking lot. As you're walking out, the illusion is kind of wavering. And Cyrus, you can see very clearly, all of the delivery people seem to be like Dan. Like they're not connected to whatever this is, and just seem to be going about their business with no problem. Anyone who is actually an employee of the brewery seems to have this kobold inhabiting them. All right, you make it out to the parking lot. Pokey awaits. Dan goes and looks like his truck is just about finished loading up. What do y'all want to do?
I want to stop and think, because they were under a spell so that I couldn't see them. But we've also established that my ring of seeming doesn't work on Fae, so I need to stop and think, did any of them pause and look at me that I noticed?
You are not sure, because
sure
you didn't think to be hiding yourself.
Right. I'm sure they get fake tourists sometimes.
All right, so you all are out in the parking lot. Or if you don't know if you've been made or not.
Do we want to lead the vehicle to lose, or do we want to follow the vehicle to lose?
6 of one, half dozen of the other.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Dan's a threat. It's just a question of whether or not
The beer is.
the beer is, and
Yeah.
don't want to put the whammy on any of your regulars.
Mm-hmm.
So y'all just gonna head back and examine it at Lou's?
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
Stream might be frozen.
Oh,
By my opinion, it is.
it is. Random. Usually that happens when I like change something. Anywho, so you all are making your way back. Is there anything you want to talk about in the car, or do you just want to jump ahead to lose?
Did
Lexi
we
said-
all get the Chameleon Charm? Did we all get that term, or was that just Auric?
I think Auric knows the name.
Okay.
You would have had like hints of it, and Lexi would have overheard the drunken conjectures of some blackthorns. Just a weird coincidence.
So
Right, so
I don't know if there's any. I don't know if it would benefit us to try to get that, to knock that out.
yeah.
I mean, it would certainly help the poor people who were under the spell.
What can I remember about kobolds?
Go ahead and make an Arcana check. We'll say this one's with advantage.
So how's an 11
Damn.
with advantage?
So a lot of the same info. Kobolds are domestic spirits. A lot of times they're found in areas of human labor. And of course, you would know this a lot, especially of like lesser. There's a weird middle ground where Fae are kind of their own creatures in a sense. But at the extremes, they tend to become more symbolic, more elemental. Kobolds are very close to the bottom. In fact, they're, depending on how powerful they are, they might not even be like incredibly sentient, because they're spirits of simple labor. So mining, milling, these are the famous stories of like the shoemaker. Those would be kobolds. They wake up and find their work just done in the morning.
So workers were basically being possessed by the spirit of good, honest work.
Pretty much. And I'll say you would catch this because honestly, you have an indefinite amount of time to keep poking at this. So two more things jump out. Kobolds usually work under a specific arrangement. They don't just like go do the work for nothing. Now, what they receive in payment might be unusual or inconsequential to humans, but it has some kind of like sustaining symbolic power for them. So often they operated under these pacts, and one of the things that you remember is that because kobolds are kind of single-minded, they tend to sometimes skip over explaining the intricacies of the pact to the ones entering into it, even to the point where like there are famous stories of actually we'll call this you interacting with Zyra, sending a text message, what do you know about kobolds? And you all get back some of these stories of kobolds who, like, a little kid would discover them, and they would take the little kid's word and enter the whole house into a pact, or pacts would pass down from like master to apprentice, even if the apprentice didn't know it, or from like grandfather to grandchild. They tended to be hyper literal, very single-minded. Also, if the pacts are violated, the responses can range from like simple pranks, or just removal of labor. Sometimes it involves taking back all the things that they made. but also sometimes the pacts, if they were violated, resulted in like majorly disproportionate retribution, sometimes very violent retribution.
So we want to make sure that we don't break the pact, or at least not in such a way as to
Hurt anybody?
turn all the beer into acid.
What if it already is acid?
No. I doubt it.
And you would know this for sure, Lexi, like the stuff you were receiving in that last few months before they sort of disappeared, it was really good stuff. It didn't seem to hurt anybody.
That's probably part of the content of the pact was
Yeah,
the best beer in the world.
right.
It's the big guy that I'm confused and concerned about.
Mhm.
Is that the one who the pact is with, or is the pact with somebody else?
Mhm.
And if it's with somebody else, where does the big guy factor in?
Yeah.
Oric, make a history check with advantage.
21, can't do better than that.
All right.
So there's your good rolls.
Was Oric much of a drinker in Fairy?
Yes, and also before his mother technically allowed him to.
All right. So you would know the Kobolds are a dime a dozen. There are, I mean, potentially hundreds of thousands of Kobolds. They just multiply all the time. The more humans there are working, the more Kobolds there are. They were also insignificant enough that some of them might very well have just been left during the Sundering, just like left in the human realm. But they would have been incredibly like weak, almost sort of phantasmal, without that connection to Fairy. The big guy you recognize as being much higher up the chain. He's not quite up to the level of like Lambton, who we've said is, I think, on sort of the lower upper tier. This creature is sort of dead middle, but is pretty famous. This is Vertisniken, the beer troll.
I was like, I know this one.
The beer troll.
I have heard this name.
And he is the Fey Lord of alcohol, or at least of certain kinds of alcohol. And
Beer.
he would have quite a reputation. But
How does one spell Vertisniken?
Vertisniken, Vertesniken, Vertisniken.
It's all right. Our local representative from Cawthorne, Allen, Tar, and Smith has been protesting the fact that treat time should not wait until 9 p.m. or 9:30. We don't like that. So.
Oh goodness. So Vertisniken. So
When he popped into my vision, I kind of had a moment of oh.
well, and it might even have taken a minute to like really put it together, because he's high enough up the ladder that like he would be more someone you've probably heard of, that you've heard described. But he might have been around.
I saw him in a parade once from like 5 blocks away.
The fairy equivalent of like a St. Patrick's Day parade,
Yes.
but not like a classy one in like a city with Irish roots, but like I don't know, like a Daytona Beach St. Patrick's Day parade.
Yep.
The kind of parade where you get drunk before the parade has started.
I don't know why I'm ragging on Daytona Beach. I just pulled a name out of a hat. So Vertisneakin, the troll lord of alcohol. It is a little unusual, and just because you all had recently talked about this, Vertisneakin shouldn't be here. He is in a higher weight class than someone who would be able to get through a portal unknown. Although all three of you could kind of see this for different reasons. Cyrus, you had to detect magic. Auric, you yourself are Fae. And Lexi, you have a somewhat inexplicable connection to magic alcohol in general. So what you saw was strange. Like we said, it's sort of it's not the same as a ring of seeing. And in fact, it's not 100% clear if Vertisneakin at least is even physically present. But you might have to dig more into the kinds of magic that Cyrus was encountering.
All like 5 schools. That'll take a while.
Well, and specifically around the people, you got a combination of conjuration, enchantment, and necromancy.
Yeah.
Which is a weird cocktail. As you all are kind of racking your brains on this, Caleb and Dan start bringing in big crates of various fickle spirits brews. There's a big case of the brand new Majestic Maple Portal. There's just a little bit of Brave and the Kobold. It's like a small box. You imagine it's probably like, I don't know, like the equivalent of like 6 4-packs or something. Because it's been a while since that one came out. What do you all want to do?
Cyrus, I'm assuming you mentioned that you use the detect magic.
Yeah.
And I recall that Luz has its own opinions about what magic is allowed to happen inside. Would you mind reading the beer?
You don't like that idea, Maisie?
Yeah. Can I maintain my concentration through the drive back? And
I mean, in a hyper mechanical sense, I don't think so, because I think it's like 10 minutes, but for narrative purposes, sure.
okay.
So
Cyrus probably also wants to try to flag Dan down and ask him a couple questions before he takes off.
sure. So let's go ahead and do Dan first.
Okay.
So Dan is doing really well, actually. Like, he seems to be very on the ball. He's helping, and Caleb and Craig and and Dan very quickly get it unloaded. They're old pros at this. They get it sort of seated where they're supposed to go. Dan is checking off all the stuff in this paperwork, marking things off. He hands Lexi although there's a little bit of paperwork, but he also has like a tablet for you to sign some stuff on. He gets it all settled and says, well, that's actually the end of my day. That was a nice little bit of overtime. Would you mind if I stay and have a beer?
Sure.
He orders something that is in the good old boy family of beers, but is like not on the trashy end. Like, so it has the form, but is of a higher quality.
So he goes for the Bud Light instead of the Natty Light.
Well, like whatever the like this is his field. So something that is of the same type, but is, something local, something
Feels
like
good.
mid-range.
Yeah.
And he just like with a practiced hand, just he would know not to do that to your bar. He'd have like something on his keychain or something, and just like a real quick motion, just pop the cap off and take a drink and just kind of
This is probably not the first time Dan has done this in my bar.
nah. And in fact, you think about it, it's like, I feel like I've gotten deliveries from Dan before. Like usually Craig and Caleb are the ones who handle it, or Woody on the weekends. But you feel like, oh, I've seen this guy once or twice.
So Cyrus will kind of plop down next to him with a drink and just be like, so we were really surprised to kind of fall off the delivery schedule for the last little bit. Has anything kind of changed at the brewery recently?
Huh. Let me think. And as he thinks, I'm going to roll a history check for him. He has a +3, actually. 13. Yeah. I mean, the alcohol's gotten better, that's for sure. That's been about 6 months or so. I know it was maybe a couple months ago, 2-3 months. They got real obsessed with paper all of a sudden. All the apps and invoices and stuff, all the digital things they had going just cut off, and they wanted everything in paper, which was a little weird. But yeah, I usually do deliveries out of there a couple days a week, and there's a couple other places in town that pick up the other days.
That's odd about the paper. New management, you think? Or
I don't think so. I mean, it's Conrad and his sister are the owners now. They bought it maybe a year ago. I mean, they're pretty young compared to, most of those places are run by some, 70-year-old man named Al who, who I'm talking about. And Lexi, you do know who he's talking about. Says, yeah, it's a little unusual to see people getting in the game younger, but Conrad was making waves with some micro brews there for a while, and I think he just wanted to scale it up. Yeah, the paper thing's been weird. That's been about 3 months. I don't know. I asked Conrad about it, and he gave some, I don't know, some $5 answer for a nickel question. So I let it go.
That's fair. Did we meet a sister?
You put together that based on the resemblance, his sister was at the front desk.
Okay.
Your tour guide was Jane.
Yeah, I knew our tour guide was Jane, but I was like, that wasn't the front desk person. That was another person.
No, the front desk was another redhead.
She had the dyed hair.
Yeah, had the tips still had kind of the weird other
Okay.
color to it.
I'll ask Dan if he's tried the newest, the portal.
Oh, did they? That's right. They did put some in there. And he waves at Caleb and says, "Hey man, can you grab me one of those?" And you get the impression Dan says "Hey man" to everybody, but it kind of looks like Caleb actually knows him. And Caleb's like, "Yeah, sure, Dan," and he just goes and gets one like right out of the packaging and brings it over and rings it out however he's supposed to, puts it on the tab.
Can I tell if it's still?
Make an Arcana check. It's definitely still like magically illuminated.
5.
You can tell it's still magic. You can't quite figure out what the effect is, but Dan, obviously not knowing that it's glowing with magical energy, just like, he hasn't quite finished his other beer yet, but he just goes ahead and takes the lid off that one and takes a drink, and you see the energy of the alcohol just sort of disperses into him. He seems fine.
Okay.
And he just says, "Man, that is good. I mean, wow." He's got that kind of like rapt fascination just looking at it like, man, y'all ought to try one of these.
I will not stop you from drinking one here because at least I can take care of you here. I can keep you controlled. Unlike, at the actual brewery.
Well, I mean, based on what I know about who was there, they're nice people.
They're nice people.
Good to know.
Well, and I'll say this: you would know this. This would just be sort of basic knowledge. Verdesnicken is of the Wild Hunt, the Wild Fae. He's not part of either summer or winter, and it's funny just because Dan happens to be here. It occurs to you that the Wild Fae are sort of like the good old boys of fairy. Like, they like to hunt and they like to fight and they like to drink and they like to stay out of it. Like, they don't have complicated dreams for life. That's what they want and that's what they get. And they only get mad if people mess with that.
Yeah.
So like, he doesn't have a bad reputation. There's a lot of Fae that if you saw them in the middle of a humanoid place, it would be a nightmare. This is more of a question mark than a nightmare.
Yeah. It's like seeing Dionysus in the middle of the brewery. It's like, this is probably a problem, but also, why is it a problem?
This is exactly where you should be. If you're gonna be anywhere, be here. Yeah.
Although Dionysus, funny enough, Neon Court. Yeah. I mean,
So is Oric trying a beer?
absolutely. I heard about the brewer.
I'm going to need two things. Make an Arcana check with advantage and make a Constitution saving throw.
Well, the Arcana check is a 19. And the con save is a 12.
So it's strong. You're by no means drunk. You have a fairly exceptional constitution with your sort of draconic background, but yeah, it's got a strong it's good. Like, you feel just buzzed is even a strong word, just a little. You do distinctly notice though that this is a Fey touched brew, but not in a malicious or even like unintentionally dangerous way. This is just like that little touch of fairy magic that elevates it from like, this is really good to like, wow.
Mm-hmm. So I just kind of make eye contact with Lex and I'm like, this is good. It tastes like home.
And in some ways, like,
Is that a good thing for
Absolutely.
Earth, or is that a bad thing?
well, and in some ways, it's even, there's something extra to it, even from home, and you recognize that as like the human element.
Mm.
Like, it's two good pieces that are synchronizing and synthesizing to make something better.
Yes.
It does occur to you that like, if there was the magic is specifically paired to the alcohol, and so very strong liquors might have a more potent effect to them. This just seems to be really good.
Do you know if they make any whiskey? Because they do this with beer. I want to know what they're doing with bourbon.
I was about to ask if we could find out what the ABV is.
It's not actually bourbon though, unless it comes from the Fantasy Kentucky region.
Yes.
Exactly.
ABV on this. 12.8. No wonder it hit hard. Drink it slow, Dan.
That'd be very high for a porter, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
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 A quarter be more like in the 8 range, wouldn't it?
That's what Wikipedia says.
12.8 would be high for any beer.
Yeah.
So it hits hard. It is tasty. And just sitting here, Cyrus, you do notice like, oh man, I don't know that you've ever done a detect magic and lose.
Oh gosh. No, I don't.
The whole stinking place lights up. There is a gentle quality to it though. You almost get the impression like like someone has like dimmed the lights for your benefit.
Right.
That gentle I can't talk tonight. That gentle amber fire that comes off of Lexi when she rages is just like gently sizzling across the entire room, like every surface. And it specifically emanates, there's almost like a small star of that fire in the hearth. And it just sort of washes over the rest of the building. In the midst of that, you also notice there are other magic alcohols just like mixed in the collection, like across the shelves and stuff.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, there you go. We're making sure that our representative is appeased so that Luke doesn't get taken out.
So random other magic beers and maybe
Yeah.
magic liquors as well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Luz is just like, I mean, it's like a bunch of fireflies and yeah.
So what I'm getting from this is I need Cyrus to order for me.
Do you want to try one?
Okay, last one.
I mean, if Cyrus is letting us know, you're still just describing it to him.
Okay.
You just happen to look and
You ate them. Yeah.
this is all of them.
You ate
No, there's
all the
definitely
fruit.
another.
Thank you. Yeah.
There is a very small, strange green bottle that looks like absinthe. There is something that looks like a honey mead. There is some kind of dark brown ale. The bottle looks sort of dusty and old. There is a red wine. Oh, that's it. There's just 4. It 100% does say green berry. And just so you think I'm not kidding, hold on.
I mean, it had to. That's one of the nicknames for absinthe.
What, the green
The
fairy?
green fairy.
Yeah.
Do you want to try that one?
Absolutely.
All right. I just dropped it in your inventory. I made these like 30 sessions ago. This is what was being smashed in that clearing you didn't go into in the woods in the Kent building.
Oh my gosh.
The little like grease spirits were smashing these. That's why there was all the alcohol on the floor. Oh, Cyrus, there's a bug on the wall behind you.
In real life.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh. Oh man, this is a fun one to do. All right, so Oric needs to make an intelligence saving throw.
Oh God.
Yep, I just saw that. And I got a 13, which I believe is a failure.
It is. You take 1d6 psychic damage.
Six. I rolled max damage.
Oh, jeez.
Mark's gonna be sleeping upstairs tonight.
So you take a drink of this, and just like one like large gulp, it's like,
Oh shoot! I removed it.
Oh no.
oh, I can drop it again.
I was trying to just take one drink of the 5.
Mm.
So You see in media where someone will like rapidly flip channels. It's like you're drinking that. Just this like cascade of unusual sounds and images, and it feels like an art project by like a multimedia art project by someone who is very talented and maybe also hates the world a little bit. Just this and you're just seeing like rapid fire stream of consciousness images, and suddenly like you all hear Dan go, "Holy crap," and like falls off a stool, because suddenly you all see it too. All of these sounds and images start bursting out of Auric and filling up the space around him, and it's just like like a red balloon floats through like a green empty space, and it's just the sound of wind. And then it's like a child crying as bombs fall in the background, and then it's like a puppy and a kitten playing, and then it's a horrible monster like jumping up and down and stomping, and just one thing after another over and over.
Just a normal Monday night. That's why we don't touch the green fairy.
I love it.
This would be one of the gifts that Archie has given over the years to Lexi.
Yep.
He took a bottle for himself and then brought a bottle here.
Nice.
Or is dumping out some salt so he can create art on the table.
Go ahead and roll. We'll just call this an untrained charisma check with advantage. So charisma check with advantage.
How's that 23?
The salt art on the table is beautiful. It is breathtaking. All right.
I'll take a picture of it for my Instagram.
I mean, this is sort of drastic, but I also didn't anticipate you like drinking absinthe at like 10 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, right. It's the morning. Well,
we'll just say that after a little bit, you feel like a warm presence on your shoulder, and you have a vibe of someone like being like, okay, that's enough. And you feel like the gentle fire of the bar like pulls the delirious magical effects and just leaves you with the very drunk of having absinthe in the morning.
okay.
The hangover.
Next time, save that for the evening. It's a good thing you're the driver.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else y'all want to ask or check out or do?
Can't think
So
of any
I
other questions for
in my
Dan.
mind, but I feel like with Cyrus using detect magic, my thought was I wanted to like drip the beer on my mallet and see like what sort of chemical reaction I might get. But if Cyrus has already done detect magic, I feel like that was kind of the same thread.
Yeah, what you're seeing is for the most part, the stuff that Lexi has received from them just seems to have this slight bit of magic on it.
Okay. You're not as thin as you drunk you are.
So, it's good beer made by good people. But it is kind of a weird circumstance. So I guess we need to decide what we want to do about that.
Right.
Yeah. Cyrus is like, I mean, so are people being hurt?
And is like the fact that I got missed and kind of they lost me and like they dropped off the face of the earth, was that like a plot or was that
An honest mistake
an
switching
honest
from digital
mistake?
back to paper.
Right. You know, because my first thought was that there might be something sinister with everything else sinister going on and with this cat's lawyer crap. I didn't know if that would tie into that.
I need to ask, did you tell us about the cat that you talked with?
Oh God, I don't know if I had the opportunity to. But I guess that would be a cue to bring it up because I could mention that one of the cats made some comment about running back to their lord to share that I could understand them and talk to them.
The cats are trying to steal the beer.
That would be Oric's conclusion. Oric would conclude that.
So, two things that might help illuminate this a little bit.
Yeah.
So, Cyrus, you were getting a very specific combination of magics. And specifically, it all felt like one spell. Like it was one big spell, not like a bunch of little spells. You also noticed, and all of you would have seen this once you sort of broke through the charm. The humans weren't talking. In every instance, now that you sort of think back, in every instance, what you heard talking was the spirit translated through this chameleon charm. None of the humans were speaking.
That's a little worrisome.
Dan said that the beer got really good about 6 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And the paper thing started about 3 months ago.
Right.
When a pact with a kobold gets broken, bad things can. What if they broke the pact with the kobold 3 months ago? And this is the result.
Could be. It's as logical idea as any.
Because the beer was supernaturally good well before the shenanigans.
Mhm. So then how do you convince a bunch of kobolds to give people their like free will and autonomy back?
Or do we have
When
to
they-
convince the troll of that?
Yeah.
Yeah. New pact, maybe. You could use some like dishwashers, right?
Maybe. Who are you thinking of?
Bunch of kobolds.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because you said there was some necromancy in that spell, and necromancy is no joke.
So unless if that's what's like knocking people out or whatever, such that whoever's riding shotgun is
Mm-hmm.
overpowering.
Mm-hmm.
Because if the people aren't in control, then I guess we should do something. Even though the beer is really, really good.
I was gonna say not for the detriment of the beer, of course, but you know. If the people must be possessed in order for the beer to remain good, then
I'm sure the beer could be just as good if the Lord of Beer set up his own brewery here instead of possessing a brewery.
I mean, it was good 9 months ago before the pact took place. It just got even
Even better.
better. Are you agreeing with me or are you disagreeing with me?
Cats, man.
Cat. Hello.
So,
So
what
do we-
do you want to do?
Do we want to try to talk to anybody about that big old charm?
Probably should.
Yeah, who would
Whether it's
would
just
you have
magic theory or
who could
I mean, there's an entire school of magic. There's certainly experts in all of the various schools
right?
at the school.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's up Vela's alley, but that doesn't mean that she wouldn't be able to tell us who to talk to / help make that connection so that we're just not wandering in on a rando.
Exactly.
although, brand new magic theory definitely sounds right up Vela's alley.
Oh, she would probably love that.
Yeah.
So if we're in the realm of we think this should be possible, but we don't know if anybody can pull it off, then
Yeah. I'm trying to, oh gosh, I'm trying to remember.
I feel like it's like showing a physicist like proof of string theory. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
So let's give Vela a call.
yeah. Was it Archie? Archie was the one who I overheard him and like one of his friends talking about it, right?
So, just to separate out, so there's two different spells happening. The Chameleon Charm, you kind of have an idea what that is.
Okay.
That was sort of how
okay.
these spirits were convincingly representing these people.
Mhm.
The more immediate concern is this strange overlapping magic that seems to be enchantment and conjuration and necromancy. And whatever that was on each of the people that were working there.
Hell of a combination.
And on Conrad?
Yep.
Okay.
So necromancy to suppress the person, conjuration to bring in the fae, enchantment to bind them. That's what I got.
This is all above Lexi's pay grade.
So you actually calling Vela at this point?
I think so.
All right.
He's sober enough to call Vela.
I don't know.
I think that's a good question. You did fail that first saving throw.
I did fail. Throw.
And Luz has removed the psychic damage and the delirious illusions. You are still like good old normal intoxicated. Let's go ahead and roll a Constitution saving throw.
Oh, good. Constitution. I'm good at that. Except when I roll a 2, so 7.
So you drunk
was
dial
so
Vela.
Right there.
Drunk
It looks
dialing.
so cocked.
Drunk dialing the girlfriend
Oh, honey.
at 10 in the morning. Did we say?
It's probably a little later than that. You were there. It's probably getting on towards like noonish. Because
Okay.
Dan was talking about having it delivered in the afternoon, but you all kind of rushed out.
Right, right.
So yeah, it's probably lunchtime-ish. It rings just a couple times, and Vela clicks in. Hello, Oric?
Vela.
Hi.
So I was chasing down a theory and I found magical alcohol.
Auric, are you magicking drunk?
Oh, baby.
You're magicking drunk without me.
Come down to lose.
There's a pause, and then you start to hear like verbal components, and there's a and Vela just like fully pops in and is sitting on one of the stools like, I had to see this.
Well, the fun part already stopped, which is very sad. If you drink this one, illusions.
You see her her sort of detect magic tattoos kick on, and her eyes glow, and she looks at it, and then she just kind of like pets your head and is like, oh honey, and just takes it and puts it down. As she turns it, you all can see like there's like a note has been like there's like a piece of tape that's been written on, and it looks like Archie's handwriting, and it's like please be exceptionally careful with this.
Yeah. No, drink no more than this much at a time. And Auric had like this
For mixing
much.
only.
Yeah, for mixing only.
So so Vela is just sort of like sympathetically sort of patting your back, and she kind of keeps doing that while she looks at the rest of you all and says, okay, so what's happening?
Well, magical alcohol is a place to start.
Well, always.
Ooh, ooh, ooh. Try the porter.
She looks at that one and says, okay, and takes a drink.
Somebody chameleon charmed a troll and a bunch of kobolds at a local brewery.
No. The chameleon charm was so that everybody could understand. There was another something. That's the problem. So the Lord of Beer is making beer on the wrong side of Fairy.
She's like looking at you and like nodding and being a very attentive listener. And then she's like turning to Lexi like,
There was a troll sort of spirit who was puppeteering. That's the only word that Rachel can come up with at the moment. He was controlling Conrad, the guy who is the head brewmaster at Fickle Spirits. Auric says that he is the troll lord of alcohol in Fae. He's a wild Fae.
that there shouldn't be anyone that big name here that we don't know about.
Shouldn't be.
Shouldn't be, but we're
She
starting to realize there are a lot of them actually.
It's really easy to get here, you guys.
she quits sort of like petting Auric and like pulls her phone out, and you see her like, Cyrus, you would definitely catch this. She opens some kind of like secure like file system and like pops up a list, and everybody make a perception check. Auric, make it with disadvantage. Actually, no, Auric, it would be a flat check because there's a reason you would have advantage.
17.
Okay.
12. I'm too far away.
13.
How's the drunk one? The one that got the best roll.
Well, actually, this makes sense. So Lexi and Cyrus, she's sort of flipping this pretty quick. You just see like it's a list of it's like a text file. You're not sure. It looks like maybe like bios. Auric, you just managed to catch, even through your drunkenness, this looks like a list of Fae. Like specifically, this looks like a list of Fae who are currently in Queensboro. And she's just like, scrolling real quick and is like, he's not on the official list, and he's not on the unofficial list.
Cyrus will cut in. I'm not sure he's all the way here, and we'll try to describe the weave of conjuration, enchantment, and necromancy.
Arcana check for her. No, she's a creature. Which is a weird way to phrase it, but some of your friends and acquaintances have like player sheets, and some have like stat blocks.
Mhm.
All right.
She was an encounter first, ergo creature.
Yeah. Excellent.
It's true.
You did fight her.
Yep. And I did really well.
Okay, honey.
Given the level imbalance, I did really well.
That's true. You did your best.
There we go. It didn't pop up. Okay. Yeah, she got like a 25 or something. Her Arcana is real good. She thinks about it for a second and goes, not really. Oh. It's a shoot. I don't know what the modern word is. They used to call these writing charms, although it didn't sound quite as inappropriate then as it does now. It's a kind of like distance, like a projected possession. It was a real pain back in the day, but it's really hard to pull off. Otherwise, folks would be doing it all the time. It was a way that the Fae could sometimes infiltrate or attack certain places without physically endangering themselves. But it was something that was very difficult to pull off.
How do you break it?
I mean, it depends on how they're doing it. We'll say that you kind of told her what you knew about Vertisnicken. I don't think he'd be powerful enough to do it on his own. This would be like for a Fey creature to affect a human like this. I mean, the only things I can think of would be a very powerful Fey, like you're talking upper ranks, like high nobles, courts. I mean, the queens, obviously, but like way up there. Maybe if someone somehow damaged their own magical defenses. This is part of why like fairy law and bargains are so discouraged, because like if I lie to a random humanoid or I break a promise, they're mad at me, but that's fine. But violating your word or an agreement like that, especially one that's been formalized, can leave you open to a lot of things that normally you'd be protected against. The last thing I can think of would be having some kind of powerful medium, something that was like focusing magic into a place that's connected to whichever Fae is projecting like this.
I mean, it is a brewery. So like a big still.
I mean, that would make sense if it was something that, if something is letting all of these kobolds and this troll do this, it would have to be something magically big, and it would have to be something that, I mean, the closer you could get it to the people involved, the better.
That brewery had been there for as long as Blues has been here, right?
Yep.
I feel like old places like that have their own magic.
Wonder if this isn't the first pack that owners of this place have made.
Or maybe somebody tried to change it.
Mm.
Good porter.
So we don't want to break the brewery.
Don't want
Right.
to break the brewery. Don't want to make the beer lord angry because he's a nice guy.
Don't want to hurt the people.
Don't want to hurt the people.
You've had your treats made.
Want to keep the right cats in and the wrong cats out.
You're allowed to be with the right cats, so you don't worry.
Oh, Vela, have you seen any cats recently?
Cats? Let's see. She's gonna roll perception. 21.
Good job. It's all
You know, it's weird. I wouldn't have thought of it if you hadn't asked, but there's like, I don't know, maybe somebody's feeding them. Maybe they're like feral, like escaped farm cats or something, but there's, I feel like I've seen some cats at like the edges of the academy grounds, but it's weird because like we're so far out there, I don't know where they'd be coming from.
Unseelie.
Oh. Huh.
Uh-huh.
She pulls out her phone and immediately like rattles off a message to somebody. You all don't hear it, but somewhere in the distance, a bunch of cats are suddenly being like pelted with firebolt cantrips.
Yeah. If they're fake cats, it won't be a problem. Hmm. So I'm not sure what to do about the brewery. Should we go back and see if we can find like a focus for this charm? We do have a
Maybe.
built-in excuse. We didn't get our tasting.
Yeah, I'm just not sure. Yeah, I mean, we can try that. I'm not sure if we, I don't particularly want to fight a beer lord.
Yeah. So what is our end goal here? Is to save the people. So to break the enchantment without with the minimal amount of harm.
Right.
All right. So what are you doing?
Back to the brewery. Are we gonna bring Payla with us?
Sure.
I mean, she's on
Payla's
her lunch
welcome.
break, but
Payla's
she might have to
welcome
go
to
back
ride.
to teaching.
That's all right. I'll put Barnabas on it. She makes a phone call. It rings a couple times. She says, Barnabas, you have the afternoon classes. And you hear like a very like beleaguered, put upon voice be like, but miss, I have the, and she just hangs up. And then she just like smiles and is like, all right, I'm good.
Tenure.
Basically.
Tenure and nepotism,
Yeah.
keeping the Blackthorn world rolling.
Yeah, I guess one thing Cyrus will ask Vela is if she knows if like once we've broken the chameleon charm, if it'll remain broken for us, or if we'll have to devise some way to see through it again.
So she's able to sort of clarify really what the chameleon charm is doing for them is translating their language and their mannerisms into something that makes sense.
Okay.
What you were able to see was something else.
Gotcha.
That was the other spell.
Okay.
And a normal person just walking in wouldn't have been able to notice that even without the charm. Oryx sees it because he is also Fey. Lexi sees it because of weird beer magic. And Cyrus sees it because he cast the spell.
Right.
Good old weird beer magic.
Yeah. So I guess that's like, does Cyrus think he'll have to have the spell active again to get through it?
Well, you wouldn't be sure. The way Vela has described this, it sounds like a possession. Like they are infusing themselves into the bodies of these humans.
Mm-hmm.
They're not, in a certain sense, like they're not physically there. Like it's not like they're invisibly working. They're like, they are the ghosts in the machine.
Yeah. Be right back.
So as you all are sort of discussing this, Vela has that weird vibe where she goes like sort of back and forth between hyper focused and a little bit ADD kid. And so she's now just sort of walking around with this fascinated look, just sort of gently running her hand across like the walls and the stones and like over the tops of tables. And Lexi, the closest thing you can compare it to is you feel like Luz is purring a little. Not to
Luz-
continue the
Luz
cat
knows-
theme, but
Yeah, Luz knows that it's being petted and
And of course, Oric is taking a mental note because a previous excursion to Luz, Zyra talked to Luz and like, okay, so this is just what humans do.
well, and you can't see this, but what Vela is seeing is this sort of amber fire running through this whole place. Maybe to clarify our metaphors, it doesn't purr, it gets the leg going like a dog. Like
doing that excited.
you see her like reach down and she just sort of like gently scoops up a little handful of the fire that's going in the fireplace and sort of like gently like rolls it across her hands. And Dan is just like, and he like leans over to Lexi and Oric and Cyrus and is like, isn't that woman that's on TV sometimes?
Yes, she's a friend of ours.
You're friends with the rich wizards?
It's kind of a strange story, but we've recently gotten to know each other. Especially this one.
Man, I gotta come here more often. You think do they take second career students at that wizard school?
You know, I don't know the answer to that, kid.
We can find out for you.
His eyes are just sparkling, like he's really excited.
I covertly cast prestidigitation and changed the color of his hair.
Jealous Auric.
It's now neon green.
Well, and you can tell, like, and actually he mutters, you hear him kind of mutter, and he's like, I bet Angel would take me seriously if I could do magic.
Oh,
Poor Dan.
Poor homeboy.
Poor homeboy.
Dan has officially become, I think, the Boblin the Goblin of this adventure. All right. So Vela is just sort of communing with Luz. Dan is dreaming of arcane stardom. What do you want to do?
I guess we're going back to the brewery, yeah?
That's the only thing I know to do is to take Vela to the brewery and see what she can detect.
All right. Do you want to make any particular kinds of preparations, or do you want to go at a certain time of day?
Or do you want to take a healing potion? It's your
Yeah,
psychic damage.
Do I need to take a short rest?
Yeah, does Ark need to take a nap off his hangover?
You all could definitely, we'll just call it a whatever kind of rest you need to be full resources.
Don't want Ark to hurt himself and since he got drunk earlier.
All right, y'all just gonna pack it up and head on over?
Sure.
All right. Vela is very nice about it, but you can see that she has some concerns about Pokey. She's not voicing those concerns, but also Vela doesn't seem to have much capability of like concealing like body language.
She has no face.
Yeah, there's no filter, there's no poker face, like it just is there. But she gets in with the confidence of someone who knows that they can cast a number of protective spells on the fly if they need to.
She's like, I am not dying today.
um,
It's a poker night.
and you see, you all are making your way back. Dan was hanging out with Caleb and Craig as they gear up to handle the evening rush. You all make your way back. There's some kind of like hip hop song from some artist. It seems like they announced it as Yazik, which you hadn't heard of before.
Yes.
All right, so you make your way back. It's pretty much how you left it. Nothing unusual happens on your way there. Is there anything you all want to discuss or go over as you make your way there?
So just to make clear, we're looking for whatever the focus might be for the charm spell, right?
That's my understanding anyway.
We're trying to try to find that first before a confrontation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if we can dispel it non-destructively.
Always nice.
I do not have any non-destructive dispelling, but
I'm a barbarian, so no.
So are you all just heading back in the front door?
yep, I lead the way. You go right up to the front desk and it's like, you know what? I felt so bad about having to miss out on the tasting. And so I went ahead and got my girlfriend and we want to do the tour again. And actually, can we go straight to the tasting?
All right. So the redheaded woman is still at the desk and kind of looks at you funny. And now you can see the thing behind her. It also kind of cocks its head at you and is like, why is it back already? Why are there more? And you hear it come out as, oh, we're so glad to have you all back so soon. You couldn't miss out on the tasting, huh?
Absolutely not. We have to have that tasting.
All right, let me see. And she starts flipping the clipboard.
Cyrus's complete head on a swivel to see if Vela reacts to being called girlfriend.
Ooh. Yeah.
I want to know if that's happened in public yet or not.
I think we specifically have established that it hasn't.
Mhm.
Like literally like a session and a half ago. Okay, Auric. Is Auric
This is real life. This
is Auric
real
lying to the Kobold?
life.
Or is Auric just like saying something he's been thinking?
Both and like what are you thinking about in terms of the lie? What are you?
So is he exaggerating this as part of his cover with the spirit?
I think Auric is too drunk for a cover right now.
Possibly that, yeah.
Just speaking,
Also,
speaking from personal
Yeah,
experience.
I wouldn't say it's so much of a lie or even an exaggeration as just spitting words out without thinking about what he's saying.
All right, make a. I'll have you make 2 rolls. So this is a deception check for the woman at the counter, and this is a persuasion check that will determine a lot.
Oh God.
Well, the deception's a 22.
Oh shit.
All right.
And the persuasion's a 24.
Oh, you did
All
it.
right. So now we have to see. So she has no insight bonus. She has a +1 wisdom. So she's going to roll a d20. Oh no. She got a 3.
Oh no.
So I think what happens here, Cyrus and Lexi, you both like, did he just say that? And Vela, nothing. And in fact, she's like, actually, I'm gonna have Vela make a deception check. She has a -1 charisma, but she got a 19. The attendant doesn't notice, but Vela is like, you all can see, Vela is like actively like examining the spells, like, and is like making a lot of like really weird focused expressions. And you see her like looking at the spirit behind the woman, and you see her sort of like looking at the charm running through the air as she speaks. And she's so engrossed in this that this moment just right past her.
The academic in her just
This is great. It's the entire date was the exact opposite way.
Right. Yeah. So she says, looking at the clipboard, yeah, actually, it looks like Jane she should actually be heading back there now with the rest of another group. And she points you to a different door and says, here, I'll walk you back. And she leads you off down like a side hallway. Before you went down the left side, this is to the right of the desk now. It looks like she's cutting you through. It's not quite like an off limits area, but it looks like maybe not as publicly used. There's like offices and stuff back here. But you can see where it like connects at the end of the hall, and you feel like you're moving parallel to the hallway you took last time. So it brings you out into a nice little, like, think like a high-end like tavern and restaurant kind of vibe. There's a lot of like wood, like stained wood on the floors and tables. There's some of that like old natural, like old unfinished stonework has been integrated. There's I'll just say a group of tourists, because I still need to work out some more fictional countries. They're a group of tourists from outside Ireland, who are conversing in a language you all don't know. And they seem very excited by the Maple Portal. You see a couple of random folks, like maybe a couple that's there on a date. One guy who just screams like annoying alcohol aficionado. He's like, everyone else is just like enjoying their drink, and he's like
sniffing. Yeah.
And every time he spits it back out, you see the kobold, like you see Jane, the woman that you did the tour. You see the kobold behind her, like it's actually making like the angry Jigglypuff noise from the Pokemon cartoon, like
That was really good, actually.
Insulted. How dare this man do such a thing?
So she leads you back here, and yeah, so now you're in this room. You would gather that you're like a hall or two off from the brew floor, like the main brewing area. What do you want to do?
Anything? Probably, I guess, probably nothing in here is striking us as particularly.
This whole room reads all the spells you saw before, and there's a lot of like low grade magic. All of the alcohol in here is faintly magic. You do see some bottles very similar to the ones that were at Lou's up on the shelves. But you don't see anything that would be like, you know, the kind of magical weight class you're looking for.
So we need an excuse to go back into the brew room, I think.
Well, isn't that where the tour ended?
That was where our tour ended, at least, because
Oh.
I think this is probably the actual end of the tour.
Well, Arik, you're the one who wanted to bring your girlfriend here. You're driving this train. I'm just the chauffeur, and Cyrus is just the chaperone, you know?
You're the professional in this business. Oh, shoot. Jane. When we left earlier, I think I left something in the brew room. Can we go get that? Would that be okay?
Make a deception check.
Woo, 21.
All right, good job.
Unless they get a nat 20. She buys it. The Kobold buys it. And so you hear in Sylvan, the Kobold kind of mutters like, fine, whatever. And it comes out very bright and bubbly, like, oh, well, sure. Yeah, we don't want to lose that. So it's going to be down this hallway. And you're going to pass through, and the redheaded woman has still been kind of hanging out, and she comes over and says, oh, don't worry, I've got it. And your tour guide says, oh, thanks, Angel. And the redheaded woman starts leading you back down the hallway.
She
So
said
that-
Angel.
So that's the sister.
Yes.
That Dan wants to impress.
Oh, you're right.
Oh.
Did.
Dan the man.
Dan the man would be the equivalent of Boblin the Goblin.
Yeah.
All right. You make your way back in there. You emerge through a different set of doors this time. You're sort of in like the back corner compared to where you were. So to your left are all of the shelves of different labels and bottles and things. Immediately to your right is a long line of different like brewing equipment. Past it is the bottling, and you see people kind of moving back and forth in the space out ahead.
So probably equipment.
All right. So how do you want to sort of break this up? So you all are looking for this. Cyrus and Vela can both do detect magic. Lexi and Auric can't explicitly do detect magic in this case.
But we can look for things that look important.
It's true. All right. So you just want to do like sort of group investigation checks?
Sure.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. So Cyrus, you're going to roll with advantage.
Okay.
Yeah, 8.
15 is nice.
That's cocked. Dirty 20.
All right. So you're sort of searching down through the equipment. There is a lot of magic here. You do notice one of the large sort of storage things that's holding some part of the process. It's radiating more magic than you would expect. But it looks very modern.
Are people with us or like?
Angel is kind of like standing a little bit behind you. And there's still like people working on the floor. Like people are going and turning valves, dumping things into other things. People are carting like finished stuff back over to the shelves.
So like if I'm doing a like close look, is that gonna be like get attention?
If you just sort of do it out of nowhere, you might draw attention.
Okay.
So is Angel specifically looking, the kind of person who we might be worried about?
I mean, she is just sort of like standing there attentively.
Okay.
Just for grins and giggles, Auric, make an Arcana check with advantage.
With advantage. Well, I can either have a 21 or a 24.
Nice. So one of the things that occurs to you is that kobolds are, if you were to like put a kobold out on like a Queensboro street, it would have no idea what's going on. Like it would just be irretrievably lost. But as soon as they're in the brewery, things that are like essential to the work of brewing, things that sort of resonate with their area of specialty, they're just very good at handling. And so you gather that the kobolds in this place are, for the most part, running it to the best of their ability, down to and including like running the tours. And so you don't get any particular malice from Angel, but she's standing there and her kobold is definitely like just kind of casually watching you all.
To help Cyrus investigate without being suspicious, I'm going to slide back over to Angel and point in the other direction and ask, what is this machine over here?
It's a little confusing because you're hearing two different answers at once. The answer in Sylvan is like very like short and functional. And it just like, it's almost just like 3 words. It's like big distillation something, whatever the appropriate terminology would be. The Chameleon Charm voice that you can still just barely hear is just blabbering stuff from Angel about like, this fancy modern technique of this and this, and they had it ordered from from some high-tech something with real top of the line, blah blah blah. So while he's distracting, Cyrus, are you going to try and make another check?
Yeah.
Are you trying to check that piece specifically or keep kind of looking around the room?
I'm gonna go with that piece specifically.
All right. Roll investigation with advantage.
17.
17. You wouldn't be able to see it without detect magic, but there are not physically carved, but almost like metaphysically carved sylvan runes running all over the surface of this device. But as you're trying to read the school, it doesn't quite match what you're looking for. This looks like enchantment. You just catch kind of like an impression off of it. This looks like enchantment magic of some kind on this. And about that time, two different things happen. So, Auric, you're distracting Angel. Cyrus, make a perception check.
Nope, that's a 5.
That's perfect. Your sinuses like burn and like open up as suddenly you are swathed in this aura of powerful liquor. And you would swear the light behind you dims. And you hear the Chameleon Charm voice, but you hear the other voice, and you can almost feel this like whispering phantom of a breath on the back of your neck that's hot and slow and heavy. And you just hear, "I'm thinking you are back again for bad reasons. Yes, should not be back here." And Conrad Wirtz is standing behind you, and this projection of Vertisnicken is leaning down to your shoulder. And about the same time, Bela like taps Auric on the shoulder and goes, "Hey, so I found like a fancy glowing green bottle over there, but also, did you call me your girlfriend?" And that's where we're going to stop for the week. So we will pick up there with two of you in mortal danger. And that's where we will come back next week.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop our recording.